time to talk to us here at Good Morning Texas, you can watch Channel 8 all day. We're going to have updates and keep you covered on the presidential election. And also, there's such cool things about the election because you can get free stuff everywhere today. A little bit later in the show, I'm going to tell you exactly where you can get free donuts, free coffees, even some fun little drinks that support your candidate. And that's a little bit later in the show. But for now, back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Amy. Some say we may wake up tomorrow to a repeat of the 1948 Truman versus Dewey upset, that the polls have all been wrong. Dr. Adam Schiffer is a political science professor at TCU. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Why do we pay so much attention to these polls?
Well, for better or for worse, polls are an integral part of our democracy right now, and we can't go back from that. For the most part, we know of the high-profile polling errors, such as the notorious 1948 Dewey-Truman you just mentioned, more recently the Bush-Gore debacle in Florida in 2000. However, the science of polling has advanced a lot over the last 50 years, and polls, for the most part, are very accurate.
Today we'll hear about the exit polls. What will you be listening for?
Well, first of all, you may, especially if you're internet savvy, you may hear about some leaks of early exit polls. I would say please pay no attention to those. They are not reliable indicators of what the eventual outcome could be. Exit polls are better for being able to tell why people voted after the fact. They're good for political science analysis 2 weeks later. But as far as split-second trying to figure out whether your candidate won or not, I would rely on the network's evening calls because they're combining the exit polls with the actual returns, and they have the knowledge and wherewithal to make informed calls.
Well, this year the polls have been all across the map. The ABC Washington Post poll, for example, shows Obama leading. If you watch any other network, they show a tighter margin between the two candidates. How do you attribute all of this variety in the variance in the polls?
Actually, there's been very little variance over the last couple of weeks. Now, any one poll has what we call sampling error. You only call 1,000 people, and you may happen to get 1,000 people who are a little more liberal or conservative than the population as a whole. But if you look at the average of the recent polls over the last couple of weeks, they've come in fairly steady at around a 7, 8, 9 point Obama lead.
How do you explain this? We're seeing long lines, in some states as long as 12 hours, when this country can decide to spend billions of dollars bailing out banks and Fortune 500 companies. Why can't we figure out how to buy a few more ballots, a few more polling places?
I hate to say it because we don't want to. It has never been enough of a priority. Part of the problem is that elections are the purview of the state. The federal government has very little power to dictate the way the states run their elections. So you have 50 different states, and then you have the counties, 254 counties within Texas, all with their own rules.
We don't want to? We're setting the example for the world as it comes to democracy. We don't want to have a few extra polling places?
Yeah, unfortunately, when push comes to shove, when the counties and the states are doing their budget and saying, where do we want to spend money, where do we want to cut in the case of a deficit, elections tend not to be the priority. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Why is it the research shows that in the event of a close race, that we are unable to determine who the true winner is?
We've never been able to design a system to count votes that can accurately gauge a close election. We saw that in Florida, whether it's the paper ballots, counting ballots by hand, it's prone to human error. You make mistakes holding them up for several hours trying to discern the chads. Computers are prone to errors as well. The ballots sometimes misfeed or get crumpled. Even the computers are sometimes misprogrammed.
I just have a hard time getting my head around that we don't want to. And here we are, a country that can create the internet and have TV on our cell phones, for Pete's sake, but yet we can't determine a definitive winner in the event of a close race. Let's go into something else.
Yeah.
Let's talk about blogging and the way we've seen this election run differently. What do you see as, what do you think, what impact do you think that will have in the 2012 election?
Well, the campaigns tend to be run based on the winner of the last campaign. So if Obama does go on to win, which it looks like there's a good chance of that, then all future campaigns will be emulating his decentralized campaign style. So instead of a top-down style with high-paid consultants from Washington, he has let his supporters take charge, and he's utilized blogs, Facebook, MySpace, text messaging, you name it, any aspect of the new media he has capitalized on to get his supporters to talk to each other and then to reach out to undecideds and to new voters. And so I think 2012, if he does go on to consummate the deal tonight, 2012 will be 2008 writ large. Both candidates will do that.
What does history teach you about the possible outcome of the election today?
Well, history tells us that the last polls done tend to be fairly accurate. There can be a little bit of slippage here and there, but with Obama's consistent 7, 8, 9-point lead in the last polls, I would say that either everything we know about the science of polling is wrong and will have to be revisited, which will be fun in and of itself, or Obama should cruise to a fairly decisive victory tonight.
All right, we'll have lots to talk about tomorrow, won't we?
Yes, we will.
All right, thank you, Dr. Schiffer.
You're welcome.
Keep it here on Channel 8 when the polls close tonight at 7. News 8 will begin its extensive election coverage. Don't forget, you'll also be able to get results from WFAA.com.